I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 14th, 2020 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Would you please rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. I'm Jeff Benton, President of the Board. To my right is our Vice President Gary Merrill and County Administrator Mike Fromer. To my left is fellow Commissioner Barb Lewis, and Jennifer is the boss this morning, so we can begin.
Resolution number 20-1116, in the matter of approving electronic record of proceedings from regular meeting held December 7th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-1116. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1117, in the matter of approving purchase orders and announce certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 12-11.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion 20-1117. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
For item number 3, I just wanted to make sure that we are all looking at the replacement item. Resolution number 20-1118, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation and a transfer of appropriations for the Board of Elections.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion,
Hello, Anthony Sadie from Deputy Director of the Board of Elections. This is just to close out our CARES grant money that we received from the state, $173,914. We wanted to use basically what's left of it, about $59,000 for poll workers. The extra that we had to recruit, the extra training that we incurred from that was about $60,000 just for poll workers. When it's all said and done, because of some invoices being different than the quotes, we're going to be returning just a little bit over $2,000 back to the state. It has to be back. Any unused funds need to be back by Friday. So just about $2,000 of the $173,000 that we did not use.
First of all, I think it's always good to be able to return money. It's still taxpayers' dollars. I just want to make a statement. I heard last week that someone made the statement that these elections weren't a problem because a Republican and Democrat is involved in during the whole process. Unfortunately, the people in Ohio see that, and we do that. That is not true in all other states. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands that. That wasn't true in Pennsylvania, that wasn't true in Georgia, and that wasn't true in a couple of other states. And I could go on for 2 or 3 more, but I'll stop there. We cannot generalize that because Ohio did it correctly, that other states did it correctly, because I don't believe they did. Now, whether there was enough votes to change the election, we can have that debate, but there was certainly abuse in other states without question. So just for the record, I wanted to make that statement because we take it for granted because we do a good job in our state. And then I heard a statement last week that there was discussions about adding other boxes within each county to accept votes. I hope that that's not the case. You want to mess up Ohio, that's a great way to do it. There is absolutely no way the boards of elections can deal with multiple boxes at 7:30 on election night. If you're going to have a Republican and Democrat add them, the voting process is too important to mess up. So if the state and the House, Senate and the House and the state are thinking about doing that, I hope they reconsider that. It would be a mistake, a huge mistake. I'm editorializing a little bit, but I think it needed to be said, and it seemed appropriate to say it with the Board of Election person in front of me. But I applaud the job that we did in Delaware County, and I believe throughout the state. So.
Yeah, just to piggyback on that, before I was here in Delaware, I was a contractor and, worked in several other states and saw several other boards of elections, but I will say that nobody does it better than Ohio. I mean, hands down. I mean, it's just above and beyond.
Well, and having served as a poll worker, and I've said this before, I've said, I go to the polls, work the polls, I don't know the D's from the R's. I just know I'm going to be working with a D as a Republican. We work, both of us, whoever that may be, we try very hard to do it the right way. This state should be applauded for the job we're doing, and that certainly our Delaware County Board should be applauded. But there is partisanship in other states because of the way they're structured, and I wish we all did it the Ohio way.
Well, thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, interesting remarks. I mean, there are the whole mail-in ballot expansion, so many other things were ripe for fraud, and there has been proven to be fraud in many cases. Now, whether it's significant enough, we'll probably never know.
Yeah, the state legislatures control the elections, that's in the Constitution, and so we have to remember too, when we want, we're pleased with the way things are going and have gone here in Ohio. And in some of the other states, what happened was that although a state legislature controlled and passes the laws regarding elections, the courts overruled what the state legislature did, and that was a real problem.
Or the Secretary of State did. Secretary
Yeah.
of State just unilaterally changed what the legislature.
That's right. We didn't have any, and speaking of the drop boxes, it seems we didn't have any problem with our drop box. We do have a drop box.
I mean, I maybe got one phone call of somebody over in Westerville asking if we were going to do it. I mean, that's in the first I've heard of it, so I would not consider that to be
Right.
a lot of
Right.
outspoken. Yeah.
I mean, we have a whole month to vote.
Well, we were limited to one box by county, which was, there were those who wanted to change that. And, we did a resolution on that.
Yes, that's right.
But even the one box, I question the legitimacy of it. But at least one next to the Board of Elections, you can manage that.
That's manageable.
Having multiple locations around your county,
Right.
if we want to mess up the elections in Ohio, that's a great way to start. And I'll say that on the record, and I hope the legislatures ultimately agree with that assessment. So,
Everyone had plenty of opportunity to vote, and those who wanted to vote, voted. So
Yep, agree.
credit to the Secretary of State
Yeah.
and to our board.
And again, we were number 2 as far as, voter turnout. We were beaten only by Putnam County, which I think has 14,000 registered voters or something like that.
What was
But
our percentage again?
84%?
as a percentage,
70, what was it, like,
It's
I'm
just
sorry,
the
I don't have it in
percentage,
front of me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Their
it
percentage
was
was
very
higher. Our numbers were way higher. What was our percentage
It was over
again?
80.
It was probably 84, maybe, 83.
I think it was 84.
It was very high.
It was remarkable.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, very well done. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much.
Carla and the whole team. I know they worked extremely hard. Probably 2 or 3 months in addition to the election month.
Yes, for sure. Thank you very much. I'll let Carla know that
Oh, thank
kind
you.
words you guys said, so.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we still need to take a vote, don't we, Jennifer?
Yes, we
All
do.
right. Sorry to get
Resolution-
distracted there.
Vote on motion, resolution number 20-1118. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks, Anthony.
Resolution number 20-1119, in the matter of approving a supplemental appropriation and a transfer of appropriations for juvenile court.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Karen Watkins, Juvenile and Probate Court Fiscal Coordinator. I've got 2 appropriation changes. The first for the supplemental is we've collected more money for restitution, so I need to try to return money to the victims of juvenile victims. And then the other is just a closeout of our SVAA grant for the year.
Okay, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1119. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1120, in the matter of authorizing the acceptance of an award from the Ohio Attorney General Victims of Crime Act for the Victim Services Program and for the Court-Appointed Special Advocate Program for Delaware County Juvenile and Probate Court.
So move.
Second.
Discussion?
This is just the annual acceptance of our VOCA and SVAA grant for both the victims of crime as well as the CASA program, which is operated out of Delaware and Union County.
Okay, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1120. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Karen.
Resolution number 20-1121, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriation for the Sheriff's Office.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Dean Stelzer, Delaware County Sheriff's Office. What you have in front of you is a couple transfers of appropriation and get us through the end of the year with everything that's going on. Entertain any questions you may have.
Okay, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1121. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Thanks, Dean.
Thank you.
Resolution number 20-1122, in the matter of approving bid specifications and setting bid opening date and time for engineering materials and services for 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Morning, Rob Riley, Chief Deputy Engineer. We're asking for your approval to go out to bid for several different road maintenance materials and services, as we always do each year, including guardrail, curb and sidewalk construction, tree clearing, asphalt, and then there's one more I'm forgetting, but
Curb? Did you
yeah,
mention-
curb and
Pavement marking.
Thank you.
Pavement.
Marking.
There we
Thanks,
go.
Jennifer. All of these except for the asphalt will bid, will be advertised this Friday, and we'll have a contract in place by January. March, we'll wait until basically the asphalt suppliers have their 2021 contracts in place. They can give us an accurate price or better price, we hope, and we'll award a contract at that time.
We're
Okay.
going to get through our whole agenda.
I know. Vote, please?
Yeah, thank you.
Vote on motion 20-1122. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
That brings us to page 59. Resolution number 20-1123, in the matter of approving amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with Strands Associates.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
This amendment involves a minor redesign to the proposed roundabout at Old Sawmill Road and Presidential Parkway. We have Strand working on. They've basically made some changes to the geometry of the roundabout to minimize property impacts, and so they've asked for basically the amount of their rework, and so that's what this amendment reflects.
What was the original? How much did this increase?
Let's see. I might have to get you that number, Commissioner, but I can do that.
Okay. All right, vote, please?
Vote on motion 20-1123. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1124, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
We just had 5 routine utility installation permits, and we're recommending approval.
Okay, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1124. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you, Rob.
Resolution number 20-1125, in the matter of approving a transfer of funds, a transfer of appropriations, supplemental appropriations, purchase orders, and memo transfers, and establishing new funds and organizational keys, and renaming of organization key.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Morning, Commissioners. Karen First, Fiscal Manager. Part of this resolution is for the startup fees for Thomas 9 and Rudder West for the drainage account setup, and the rest of it is part of the year-end cleanup. So if you have any questions about any of these particular items, I'd be happy to answer them. So.
Okay, vote?
Vote on motion 20-1125. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you.
Thanks, Karen.
Resolution number 20-1126, in the matter of delegating temporary authority to the county administrator.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Fromer, County Administrator. As we end to the year-end closeout, and this resolution will allow for me to work with the Auditor's Office to resolve some of the final payments and stuff towards the end of the year, with us having some sessions that will not occur towards the end of the year as well. So.
Okay. Vote?
Vote on motion 20-1126. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 20-1127, in the matter of awarding community enhancement grants.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Good morning, Commissioners. This resolution is to award the revised Community Enhancement Grants. We have 16 applicants that are going to be awarded funds, and it really demonstrated a lot of additional need during the unique times we've had. Just to kind of summarize, some of these applicants were pretty well shut down this year because of the stay-at-home orders, and were unable to generate revenue so that they can continue on with their programming into 2021. So some of these are allowing them to continue with that hope to provide the programming and essential stuff. Also, there were some applicants too that where we were providing more resources to them, and then also helping them connect families and individuals that are in need right now with those resources through those social work and different types of services. So I think it's a really good slate of applicants.
Yeah, I know, Commissioner Merrill, Commissioner Lewis.
I think all the work that you put into this, as you got all the applicants had to go through and make that evaluation. I think I certainly am, and I believe the other commissioners, we're pleased to be able to support these organizations and what's been a very tough year.
And I know we'll be issuing a press release shortly with all 16 on them and on it, and just really pleased that we can help out in some way. So many challenges, and thank you, Mike, and the committee also for reviewing these, and we had the opportunity also to do that. So
There's also, there were a few folks that, we had a short time frame. It was about a 2-week turnaround to submit applications. We had a few organizations, a handful, I think 3 or 4 that did not get in the deadline. And I know we've been talking, their needs are very similar to the needs that we're approving today. And we're probably going to be recommending a next round, but only for folks that did not receive funding in this round. So we're still working through that, and we'll get with you guys on the details of that. I think there were a couple, like I said, we had a 2-week turnaround, and some were confused with the business grant program as well that was going on concurrently. So,
Yeah, I think that's important that we mention that there will very likely be a round 2 to catch those that for various reasons didn't participate in this round. I want to also make the point, this is an unusual amount for community enhancement grants this year with some additional CARES funding that is available. We were able to find some money to provide some higher levels of grants next year, assuming we have it again. It won't be anywhere near this level. And the need for these organizations is really for 2 reasons. One is the programs and services they offered and received funds for some of them have been dramatically cut back. Others, the need for their services has gone dramatically up. And so they needed additional funds to provide those services. And so between those 2 forces, just about every nonprofit in this county was impacted by the pandemic, and so it's great that we're able to put this program together and help them out, because the nonprofits here add so much to the community. They're just wonderful organizations that make Delaware County a very special place, so it's great that we're able to do that. With that, we'll take the vote. Jennifer?
Vote on motion 20-1127. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
aye.
Resolution number 20-1128, in the matter of approving a scrap tire removal certification and consent form.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
good morning, Commissioners. This is a program that we've worked on with DKMM for a couple years, where we the county engineer has a place for scrap tires that are found alongside the roadways throughout the county to be brought here to the county and then disposed of, and this is just the consent form to dispose of those tires. So,
EPA takes care of this. They gather them, but they have to have permission to go onto the property again. So pretty routine stuff. Jennifer?
Vote on motion 20-1128. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
We have a few minutes before we can start our 10 o'clock hearing, so we can see if the administrative partner has any Before he runs. So Commissioner Committee report.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, I attended the virtual meeting of our State County Commissioners Association, and we were able to cast our votes approving the legislative platform, the officers for the state association, and we elected 2 people to represent us at the national organization, and that's Judy, wait a minute. Julie Amon. And Julie is from Shelby County, and she was a former president of CCAO, and then also Debbie Lieberman from Montgomery County, and I believe they will represent us well. So first time that this meeting, this annual meeting was held virtually, so it went well, though. I mean, they did a good job, but it certainly isn't the same as together in person. So they sent us these little ice cream scoop things because they usually give us sundaes. So, you know, I mean, I like the sundaes. So, anyway, yeah, that's it.
They forgot the ice cream, didn't they?
I know, they did.
Messy if they shipped the ice cream.
Yeah.
Commissioner Merrill?
I have a couple of things. There's a lot that's happened. Hopefully that's the last virtual meeting we ever have to have, because we got the business out of the way, but the education part of it, the information part of it, really, to no one's fault. It's just impossible to do that in a virtual setting. But 2 things. First of all, Eric mentioned last week about the crew. Frankly, I didn't follow the crew this year for obvious reasons, everything going on with the virus, et cetera. But I did tape the game, and I listened to the finals about 3 hours after the fact. My son came in the room and says, Columbus Crew won. I said, don't tell me I haven't watched it. So I didn't know the score, but I knew they had won. And a real quick story, we have a couple of minutes here. Dr. Edwards, who's a part owner of the crew, about 25, 30 years ago, my elbow got the size of a tennis ball, and I went to urgent care. They misdiagnosed it as tendonitis, put me on steroids.
Oh.
I went to my internist, couldn't get in for 2 weeks. I went to the company doctor at the dispatch. They drained it. And next morning, guess what? It's back to the regular size again. They didn't send it to the lab. So those are unfortunate incidents that occurred. Someone said, well, why don't you an orthopedic doctor? And we'd gone to Dr. Edwards somewhere in the past. He had an office at Riverside across the road there. And I went to his office, couldn't get in to see my internist, the specialist. They looked at me and said, we'll get you in. They put me in a room. Within 10 minutes, he walks to the door, looks across the room, and says, Gary, we're putting you in the hospital. I had a staph infection. So I always have good feelings towards Dr. Edwards, and I really feel great about the fact that he invested in the crew. And it was probably a tough year to be an investor in the crew with the virus, et cetera. And so he's a really great guy, great doctor, and yes, he did the surgery on both my knees. Oh. So, but we're fortunate to have someone of his caliber in Central Ohio who was willing to step up and be one of the ownership members. And so enough said about that, but I felt it was important to at least say that, and I'm going to send him a little note to congratulate him. One other thing, if you heard over the weekend, we heard a lot about the virus and the vaccines being distributed, but the thing you never heard was President Trump is responsible for that virus being out. And I want to take a second and just say congratulations to President Trump and everything he did. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this vaccine being distributed this week. And the China virus is going to be affected positively by this vaccine that's now out. And thank you to Trump administration and everybody that had the foresight to pharmaceutical companies to make this happen. So I wanted to say that as well. And that's all I have.
Oh, I've got something. In addition,
Sure.
Speaking of the crew, we got an email last night, and from a dear friend of ours in Costa Rica who actually manages the soccer team Aurelia in very, very important soccer team in Costa Rica, one of the main ones, and he brought to our attention that Luis Diaz was now from his team, came up and was on the crew team that won the championship.
And I believe he scored a couple of goals, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
It wasn't him, it was
Wasn't
somebody
him?
else. But,
I'm not sure.
yeah.
So that was, I mean, that was kind of neat when you mentioned
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hey, it's going to be neat next year. They won it this year. New stadium next year. That's going to be quite an event, that first home game next year.
Yep, yep. Yeah, they've won it the second time they won the championship, so congratulations to the crew. Just a couple other things. We had our MORPC meeting Thursday, pretty routine. We had a TID meeting Wednesday last week, and that was pretty routine as well. TID continues to be active and making progress on various projects. Had the Treasurer of State Regional Advisory Board call on Friday, and that actually went pretty well. There's a lot of communities and counties and so on around the area, around Central Ohio, that are interested in working with the treasurer, who's very interested in working with them to fund infrastructure. And each jurisdiction talked about their key issue, and the common thread among all of them was growth, dealing with growth. So Delaware County, certainly that's our big issue, but it's true all around the region, which is good to hear. Got a Central Ohio Youth Center meeting tomorrow, DKMM board meeting tomorrow as well. And Commissioner Merrill is going to be elected as vice chair.
We don't have been elected yet.
I think there's-
What are you running for?
Well, I was asked, I wouldn't say running is the right terminology. I was asked if I'd serve as vice chair of DKM next year.
Oh, great.
And the early polls have him a strong favorite.
A strong favor, huh? Oh, yeah.
My
Got to make
money's
sure
on
it's
Commissioner Merrill.
statistically sound, but,
That's it. Land Bank meeting is Wednesday. Good news there on the agenda is the fact that the Sunnyview Nursing Home is going to be sold in sheriff's sale.
gee.
So that's
That's
real
great.
progress. Again, that's a big part, that's an example of why we wanted to create the land bank, is to get distressed properties through and into private sector hands.
I think we're also evaluating the brokers who,
Evaluating the brokers for the historic court, or historic jail, very true. Investment advisory meeting is Thursday morning, 9 o'clock.
yes.
Louis and I will be participating in that. And we got regional planning Thursday. I think that's it. We do need to go into recess till,
Yes, recess, so we could probably have about 5 minutes to set up for the hearing.
yep. So we'll recess until 10 o'clock so we can get set up for the hearing. So we're in recess.
We're in recess.
All right.